Hello, welcome to the signature segment of See the Stories. Now, it is a bit different than the usual See the Stories because today we will discuss the tactical preparations ahead of the FIFA World Cup qualifier between Indonesia and Japan, which is scheduled for 7 p.m. at the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium. And joining us in the studio is tactical analyst Davin Andaradanta. Davin, thank you so much for being here. So, before we go into the analysis, of the tactical aspect, with Indonesia ranked 130th and Japan being 15th in the FIFA rankings, how do you think this gap will actually impact tomorrow's match?
Yeah, I think Japan deserve to be in that position because they have done this for a long time. They have a strong youth development, they have a strong league, which helped them to have a lot of quality players and that consistency. Meanwhile, we are still developing, but I don't think it will affect much because we have improved our squad and I hope that can make a difference between.
So we have a lot of naturalized players as well. Will that play a big part in Indonesia in the further matches or in the further quest of getting into the World Cup?
I think so because the naturalized player definitely help our quality because they play abroad and they have experience, so it will be improve our squad.
So that's like a different trainings that they got from the previous countries or also previous clubs. Now, looking at the standings, Indonesia is currently fifth in the group with 3 points. And then while Japan is dominating with first place with 10 points, do you think Indonesia has a chance to secure at least 1 point at home against Japan, considering Indonesia's target of 15 points?
Yeah, I think Japan, the best team in our group. They have the best attacking and defensive record in the third round. In the last meeting, we lost 3-1 in the Asian Cup.
Yes.
But since then, we have improved our squad. And I think we can expect a better result this time.
Now let's talk about tactics. Japan is the most productive team with so far with 15 goals. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, how do they build their game and create chances?
Okay, so they actually use the same formation like us, which is 3-4-3, but in the build-up, they can transition into a 4-3-3 build-up.
Okay, so it's 3-4-3 and 4-3-3 build-up.
So with one of the double pivot, Morita, for example, he as the left back, so he drift wide as the left back, but also can option as the center back. When they progress, they look to target the players between the lines, the double 10. So what they want to do is shift the defensive block. If you see in this example, the Australian is look to move from the right to the left side, but they are too late, so this player can find the access to this player. When this happen, he can turn it into dangerous situation because if you see this player, he is ready to run to attack the space behind.
Is Indonesia aware of this tactics by Japan?
So actually, Indonesia used the same formation like Australia in this situation.
Okay.
Yeah. So our double pivot, our defensive midfielder physically needs to cover the space. If our double pivot is not ready, the wide center back needs to step up and help. Although it's very risky because this player is ready to attack the space behind.
Okay, so considering that Indonesia have known the tactic of Japan's, and at this point, I would expect that Indonesia also have planned the counter tactics to actually tackle Japan in this case. So have these tactics that has been prepared to face Japan has been used before?
So Australia actually end with a 1-1 draw. So they use more like a 5-2-3, which is usually more defensive because they have 5 players. So Japan also attack with 5 players. There's 5 players. So it is an effective tactic against Japan actually.
Okay.
Although there is a different quality between Australia and Indonesia.
And if I'm mistaken, this is the build-up too.
This is more a build-up, but also with the chance creation.
Okay.
So if the previous example, Japan look to target the number 10, these two number 10.
This too.
Yes, but with that, it also can attract the wide center back. When that happen, it create the access to the center forward, the Ueda, and also Japan use more like a winger. So in our formation,
So this winger?
yes, this winger also. We use more like a wing back,
Yeah.
but Japan use more like a winger, so more attacking. Players like Mitoma, players like Ritsudoan, so they can 1v1. In this situation, they can pin the opponent's wing back, so it can create the space between the opponent's wing back and wide center back. Actually, when this happened, Machida, after he find the access to Ueda, the center forward, Minamino can combine and he can attack the space to score the goal.
I see. Okay, one more build-up. Okay, now this.
Okay, so Japan's right side is actually more tricky because they have Doan and Kubo. They like to combine, so they like to switch position.
Yeah.
Combine. So our left wing back and left center backs needs to be focused on the situation because when they switch and they are not ready,
Yeah.
he can have the space to attack. They can attack to shoot, or they usually send the cross to the far post to the far side winger to attack this kind of space.
Okay.
Because this kind of space is hard to track because it's from blind side. So our goalkeeper, maybe Paes, or our center back Jay Itzes, needs to command the backline to aware from this kind of situation.
Okay. Now, you've been mentioning about Kubo and also Doan.
Yeah.
Now let's see the profile of Takefusa Kubo. Now, what can you tell us from this chart?
So I put him as the key player because he excels in the 1v1 situation, but he also can create the chances. We can see example with the successful take-ons. He is in the 98th percentile. He likes to carry into the final third and into the penalty area. His shot creating action is quite high among La Liga attacking midfielders and wingers, which is 96th percentile. And also with the dead ball pass, it's from the set pieces. I think this is also why he plays more as the number 10 rather than as a winger like Mitoma and Sedoan. So I think he will be a key player for Japan.
Okay, so looking or hearing what you've been mentioning, and also you've explained to us earlier about the tactics of Japan. Now it seems like this tactic has been used for quite a while.
Yeah.
And we know that Japan being in the 15th of the ranking should be something that we fear as Indonesian because we want our team to win.
Yeah.
Now let's see the Indonesian defense.
Yeah.
How can, what can you tell us from this? Because so far Indonesia has been, putting the pedal, the gas pedal very, very high on these matches because we have the target. We want to win the matches. We want to get into the World Cup. Now, what can you explain from this?
Yeah, I think we actually from the past 4 games only conceded 5, but our defensive organization is still needs to be better. In the last game against China, it's actually from transition, but as we can see, our midfield, our double pivot are stretched. Also, our backline are stretched, so China can directly attack us and attack to score the goal. So this kind of situation is dangerous if you did this against Japan, because Japan, if China can punish us, Japan will punish us, right?
Okay. So this is something to watch, right?
Something to watch, because I think defensively this should not happen again.
Okay. Now for this.
So against Saudi Arabia, it's actually more communication problem. So Rizky Ridho and Ivar, they was attracted by the same player. So one Saudi Arabian players, he attract 2 of Indonesian player, and the other problem is Tom Hay. He is not aware of this player free in the central areas, so they can send the ball to him and he can score the equalizing goal. Because when this game happened, we actually lead 1-0, and he can score the equalizing goal.
So which of the Saudi Arabian player attracted two players?
This one.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. All right, so we had communication problem back
Yeah.
then.
Because actually the double pivot needs to protect the back line. Our defensive midfielder needs to protect the back line. But in this situation, none of our defensive midfielder are in this position.
That's it. Okay. So, also well, as you were mentioning about central access
Yeah,
from that player, yeah?
It's too big.
It's too big. All right. Now, this is also from the same match, Saudi Arabia, isn't it?
But this is more from set pieces because Japan also can threaten us from the set pieces. They have scored 2 goals from corner kick. They use a specific tactics, which is the blocking in this example, to actually create the space for the actual target. So in this example, if you see the green Saudi Arabian players are more, they have more players inside the box, but Japan can attack in the specific target to create the space for Ogawa in this example. Because they can score the goals in this situation.
Yeah.
This player.
That's right. Okay, so for the next one.
This is also the other example against China. We can see this player, he blocked Mitoma. This one Japanese player, he blocked 2 players of the Chinese player. This group also helped to block and created the space for Endo. In this situation, Endo is actually one of the shortest player. So when defending set piece, usually the opponent will focus on the tallest player. Right?
Yeah.
But Japan can create a goal with one of the shortest players in the lineup. So we need to be careful, not only focus on the tall player, but also players like Endo, Ritsudoan, and Kubo.
Okay, so now you were explaining quite systematic in the tactical analysis and stuff like that. And what are the cautions that we need to pay attention to as we are approaching the match with Indonesia and Japan?
I think our defensive marking is still a problem because if Japan can score 2 goals from set pieces, we actually have conceded 2 goals, and it happened in the last 2 games against China and against Bahrain. Against Bahrain, we lost focus despite the controversy. We left 2 players in the far post, so actually we have more players inside the box, but we leave 2 players in the far post to attack, so Bahrain can score the equalizing goal. Against China is more concerning, I will say, because our defenders are ball watching. So actually you need to be focused on the situation because no matter how many we have players inside the box, like the Saudi Arabians, the most important thing on set pieces is to focus on the defensive mark.
Yeah. All right. So talking about the players, we have Kevin Dix, who has joined the squad. Now, what's your opinion on his potential impact in this match?
Okay, I think Kevin Dix.
Here.
So his primary position is actually as a center back, but this season he plays more as a left back and also can play as a right back. The other option is play as the defensive midfielder. We can see in the heat map he's quite adventurous. He almost everywhere, maybe not in the front, but we can see his.
If you see this, right?
From SofaScore, we can see in the stats per 90 he's quite good defensively in the duels, in the tackles, recoveries also, and also with the passing. So he is not only good with the defensive, but also with the passing to help us initiate the attack, the build up and chance creation.
Right. And last but not least, how do you think Coach Shin Tae-yong will approach the starting 11 for this high-stakes match? Okay, so, all right for this.
Okay. So, about Kevin Dix, that is why I put him as a defensive midfielder, because I have a dilemma whether to put Hubner or Dix, because Hubner is an aggressive type of player and he can help us to protect the back line, but Dix looks better on the ball. He already have experience to play as the fullback, which is requires you to be comfortable in the tight space under pressure. Also, I put Rizky Ridho back into the starting lineup because there is no Meshilgers. With the wing backs are still the same, Verdong and Walsh. The other substitute is Sayuri because I want to attack the space behind. Players like Witan can also make a difference with his movements and combination play. With Marcelino with his ball carrying, but I think Sayuri is the perfect to accompany Stroik and Urat Mangun.
Okay, learning from Indonesia's previous matches, and also now that we have discussed about the tactical of both teams, how many percent, if you can, just if you can, how many percent of the chance of Indonesia, say, winning the match?
I think will be quite low. 5% maybe.
5%.
5%, I think.
Okay, just because that we have been analyzing all the cautions and also all the weaknesses and probably some of the mistakes that have been made by the Indonesian team.
Yeah, I think because Japan, we have a different quality with Japan, but also in that organization, in the tactics, we still have a lot of problem, and I think Japan can exploit us, actually. But I hope Japan is not on their game, and we can maybe force a draw against them.
Okay, before we say goodbye to you, Davin, what needs to be done by Indonesia to at least to match the score, let's say, or to match the play?
Okay, I think we need to learn from Australia because they get 1-1 in the away game, so they play draw against Japan in Japan. They are compact, they work as a unit, so the front three protect the midfield protect the back line, and the second one is we need to don't underestimate the set pieces because Japan have specific tactics to exploit us, to attack us. The third one is because I use Sayuri, I like play strike. We will attack the space behind because I think Japan against Bahrain, against China, they control 70% of possession.
Yeah.
So we might expect that to happen against us. So we will attack them from transition. The other thing is to from Arahan's long throw because in the last game in the Asian Cup we scored from that way through Sandy Walsh. But no matter how we will create the chances, I think the most important thing is to be clinical in front of the goal. And the last thing is to be focused until the end of the match because most of the game are not finished until the 90 minutes, right?
Oh, yeah, that's actually right. And we will see about the outcome tomorrow, 7 p.m. Indonesia
7
time,
p.m.
all right, in Gelora Bung Karno. And See the Source will continue after the break. Davin, thank you so much for all this interesting talk with you about Indonesian football team, Indonesian's football team against Japanese team tomorrow in Gelora Bung Karno. And after the break, we will talk about Indonesian decent football players and their careers at their respective clubs. Do not go anywhere.